Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and thanks for joining us for another episode of FPL Fix. My name's James and I'm here with Patrick, who's back and refreshed from his holiday.
Hi everyone, the holiday was great, but FPL has been a struggle. Late penalties, bench points and transfers are already regret.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Vicario came on to block my 6-point Esri Konsa as my first bench.
In this episode, we will recap Game Week 4 before looking ahead at the biggest transfers, players to target, and the team reveals before Game Week 5. James, why don't you start things off?
Game Week 4 was a rough one. Double Spurs defence, including 14-point Van der Ven, and a very late penalty for my captain Salah just about stopped it being a complete disaster. Haaland to Mateta felt fine on paper, but Mateta struggled while Haaland did what he does best, and I dropped around 8 points with the double swap. Evanilson was my only forward who returned at all. He won the penalty, which he didn't even get to take, for 5 points. And Villa were awful again, except for Konsa, who sat on my bench with his 6-pointer. I finished with a red arrow and 5 points below the average, so not a great week to be honest. How did you get on?
I took a -4 this week, so I actually finished on the same points as you in the end, with 58. Enzo picked up 4 points, Guehi and Van der Ven did really well in my defence, and Haaland basically saved my game week with 26 points as my captain. The rest of my team really let me down, and it hurt even more when Palmer came on to score almost instantly for Chelsea, even though I was right by his minutes, so I left him on my bench.
Yeah, I bet that hurt, but it could be worse. At least you didn't transfer Haaland out though, like me. It wasn't just us struggling this week though, and a lot of FPL managers are already making moves. Let's take a look at the most transferred players ahead of Game Week 5 so far.
Starting with the transfers out, and there's a few surprises here. Ainora and Aina are injured, so that's why they've been moved out. Ekitike and Wirtz ahead of Everton at Anfield is a bit strange, but with Isak integrating into the team, both could have their minutes reduced. Chris Wood has been sold by nearly 200,000 managers, and that's before he plays Burnley and Sunderland, so that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I completely agree. People saw Forest lose to Swansea midweek, but it was almost a reserve team that Ange put out, so I'm not concerned and definitely wouldn't be selling Wood if I was an owner. Well, that's the players being transferred out, but who are the managers rushing to bring in? Semenyo continues to be the top pick and the standout. He's great value even with the multiple price rises and well worth a spot in anyone's team. Van der Ven is next. He's nailed for minutes, got a great attacking threat and is part of a solid defence at the moment. Haaland is next, and he's already gone up to 14.2 million with the transfers in. He is definitely a great pick, but I'm not sure before Arsenal is the best time to buy him. He'll be back in my team next week though, ahead of the Burnley match.
Guehi is next, and I picked him up last week. Crystal Palace defence has been solid, and he's even showed he can score a banger every now and again. Watermada is the last name on this list, and he did really well in his debut last week, but I'm not confident in his minutes, especially with his early sub last week, and with him not starting the Champions League game.
Yeah, well, the transfers do give us a snapshot of what managers are doing, but that doesn't always mean it's the best move. So let's take a step back and look at which teams actually have the fixtures worth targeting. The top team to target for the next few weeks are Spurs, who play Brighton, Leeds and Newcastle and are showing the form to be well worth backing.
Forest are next, and they have 2 great fixtures coming up. Burnley then Sunderland, so there's some high upside there if you get the picks right. Villa are next, and they definitely don't have the form, but they do still have great fixtures, and they have to start eventually clicking.
Bournemouth make the list too, and they have worse fixtures than Villa, but much better form. They play Newcastle next, but then Leeds and Fulham, so some of their players will tick over nicely. Mostly focused on those sides, let's have a look at the top players to target.
In goal, Vicario and Sells are both solid options, and you expect a few returns over the next couple of games. In defence, Romero, Van der Ven and Senesi are the top picks. Spurs centre-backs have been great value so far, and Senesi has looked really good with DEFCON stats too.
In midfield, there are a few good options again. Semenyo is the standout, especially now he seems to be on penalties, and Doy looks lively and could be a great option for a cheap price for at least the next 2 fixtures. Other options are Pat Matasar and Xavi Simons if you're looking for a Spurs midfielder. But up front, there's some doubt over the minutes of the forwards for Tottenham with their new signings fitting in. And even with the great fixtures, Watkins and Villa just can't be trusted. They still haven't scored yet in the league this season, so I think Wood and Evanilson are the best picks for at least the next 2 games.
So those are some of the key players we think are worth targeting this week. But how does that actually translate into our teams? Let's take a look at our team reveals for Game Week 5, and I'll start things off. Sanchez is my goalkeeper this week, and I don't see Man United scoring against him. Two of my defenders play each other in Guehi and Doof, but neither side has looked great in attack, so either or both of them could get clean sheets. Van der Ven is nailed, and is the first of my triple up on Spurs. In midfield, and continuing with Spurs, I've got Brennan Johnson, who I'm just hoping starts this week. Bruno, who is showing more defensive contributions than goals or assists, and then a double up on Chelsea with Enzo and Palmer. My front three is looking really strong this week, with Richarlison, Watkins and my captain Haaland. He plays Arsenal, but given his form, he's earned an armband again. That's how my team lines up, and I'm pretty confident this week.
Yeah, your team looks okay. Let me show you mine. I'm starting Sells in goal for his great fixture against Burnley, double Spurs defence against Brighton, and Konsa, who plays Sunderland. In midfield, I've got Gakpo and Salah in the early kickoff for the Merseyside derby. Rodgers starts again. I'm giving him this game, Fulham and the Burnley game before his time is up, and then Ndoye, who I'm really confident with this week. I've gone with three at the front again, with Mateta against West Ham, Watkins for the Aston Villa triple up, just for the bants, and Evanilson at home to Newcastle. I am torn on captaincy though this week. Mateta has the armband at the moment, but after watching Salah against Atletico on Wednesday, he might still end up my captain before deadline. I'll probably still be debating that until Saturday, so let me know in the comments, who would you give the armband to this week?
You're brave going with triple Aston Villa. That's it for our Game Week 5 preview. We'll be back next week to break it all down.
Yeah, some say brave, others say stupid, but let's see how it goes. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.
And you can follow us on Twitter at Weekend Fix for last minute tips ahead of the deadline.
Thanks for watching, good luck for Game Week 5, and we'll see you on the next one.